This might be John Wick for the Oscar crowd. Hey there, cinephiles. Today I am reviewing The Killer. David Fincher's latest film, coming to Netflix this weekend, follows an assassin portrayed by Michael Fassbender, and he goes on this mission, but it doesn't go perfectly. I'll leave it at that, as without knowing too much about the plot, I was thrusted into a mesmerizing experience. Just like all of Fincher's work, there is this trance-like quality to his filmmaking that is soaked in his signature look filled with greens and yellows. The hypnotic quality starts from Michael Fassbender's narration that is given for the majority of the runtime. And with Fassbender's cadence reminding me of Rosamund Pike's delivery in Gone Girl, it just really puts you under this film's spell more and more. This film having been based on a French graphic novel, it made so much sense with how much we are directly put into the mind of the titular killer. This is really framed like a manifesto from this adventure of his. What makes him tick, his mantra, and what it takes to do this, it's all in there, and you understand why. Although this film is clear on its framing device, it really does feel like a letter to or a lesson to someone he knows, or even to you in the audience as a tell-all. And it is because of this constant train of thought that you're ultimately able to understand someone who is a psychopath because he is an assassin. And I will say, I do need to rewatch this as soon as I can, because the final line of the film is something that would be so interesting if I heard it correctly. And that's if I heard the line right. I don't know if I did, but if I did hear it right, then I think this film is all the better for it, as it would tie up his character in such a way that is unexpected. I do have a feeling that most people aren't going to like the ending and third act of this film though, as it's not exactly what you would expect in the sense of a satisfactory ending. But I'm growing to like the ending the more I sit with it. I mean, it's not only tying together the unfortunate morality of the main character, but it also is a reflection of the morality of the world we live in. Just as the killer lives by a code that is seemingly unjust, he knows it is the code that he must live by in order to continue to do what he does and to live on. He's not a revolutionary and he's not a hero. He is just someone trying to do his job and to get to the root of something that affected him. So I mean this when I say this, I am truly impressed with how much humanity we are able to see from this psychopath just by way of narration. In this small peek into an underworld of contract killers, we get a dense character piece for the killer and the mission he brings upon himself. Now, for as much as I do like this movie, it's nowhere near Fincher's best work, like Gone Girl, Social Network, and Zodiac. But my god, it is a step up from Mank. It's within its first location change that I really started to worry about the movie. After such a strong opening, we see Fassbender talking to a cab driver, and the cabbie's performance almost took me out of the film. In fact, this section kind of works as a reset for the rest of the movie to come, and it's very rocky. Fincher is currently the poster boy for perfectionist filmmaking, with all of the stories of him doing an absurd amount of takes for each of his scenes. And for this story reset to be so off despite his reputation, I don't know, this is really the only thing that is bringing down the movie as a whole for me. Anyways, once we shift the focus on the story, there is a point in which this film does develop a much more visceral vibe. There's a fight scene in here that will be amongst my favorite of the year. Every hit or injury done was felt to my core. I was in this auditorium full of other critics and we were all wincing so loudly. But even the scenes that handle kills in a much more finessed way are gritty too. And not in the film bro way, but more so in a stylized yet realistic way. I could see some of these frames being perfectly ripped from the graphic novel. And the best part of it is, it felt earned. I do wish this had a much more grander theatrical window, because there are certain scenes and shots that I'm sure will garner great collective reactions from the audience. I mean, this movie really does feel like you're being taught how to be, or tested on whether or not you can be an assassin. And with the constant reminder of this being what it takes to be an assassin, you yourself are thinking about that long after the credits roll. And for as dark as that may get, this film is not without its dry humor. There's a sarcastic wit in this that I feel like inhabits in most of David Fincher's filmography. The deadpan delivery from his leads with a one-liner every once in a blue moon genuinely adds some levity. And there is this name-changing motif that had many people in my screening dying, but we'll see how that plays for others. One thing I did find very funny / interesting is that how much the killer loves listening to the Smiths. I mean, it makes sense as an assassin why he would love the poster band for Male Manipulator Energy. But overall, there are so many aspects with how much I was sucked into the film and wanted to stay with it a bit longer. I really wish there was a full theatrical release for this, because there are so many of my friends that I would have loved to have taken this to. And I know it'll be on Netflix soon, but there's so many distractions at home, especially because there are slower parts in this movie. Not that it's a bad thing, but when it's projected on a big screen, it is much easier for me to be immersed into this story, especially because it felt like a really great portal into the main character's mind. Either way though, David Fincher has had an interesting relationship with Netflix so far. You get Mindhunter, which deserves a third season, and then you also have Mank, which I'm not a fan of at all. And I am very thankful to report that The Killer is much more aligned in quality-wise to Mindhunter than it is Mank. And The Killer as a movie is something that continues to stick with me and makes me think about it. And it's for that reason that this very well will end up amongst my favorite movies of this year. I give The Killer a 4 out of 5 stars. This needs to be seen as soon as you can, especially if you are a David Fincher fan or just a fan of assassins or true crime. And me myself, despite its flaws, I can't wait to rewatch this tale of a professional who makes a mistake. But alright, those are my thoughts on The Killer. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Also be sure to let me know which David Fincher movie is your favorite. Me personally, I still think it's The Social Network because I also love Aaron Sorkin's writing. But be sure to let me know your favorite either in the comments or on our social medias. As always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.